So let's talk about the follower dungeons, which were just added with the most recent patch. I ran 2 of these dungeons because that's all I could really handle, and I'll explain why as this video goes on. But I primarily wanted to observe how the system works, how the AI performs, to see if there is any leveling potential, and to just get an overall picture so that I can speculate on what Blizzard might be doing with AI in the future expansions. So first, let me just talk about the overall dungeon experience that I had with the AI, and I'll dive deeper later. I ran Brackenhide Hollow and Ruby Life Pools. In Brackenhide, I started the dungeon so that the followers would lead the way. However, I felt like they were pulling a lot of unnecessary mobs through the first area, so I ended up turning it off and handling the pulls myself. I did try to let the followers take the lead again once I reached the hyena boss, however the tank kept running back the way we came, so I had to turn it back off in order to pull that boss. It seemed like the AI had a very specific path to follow, and if you deviate from it, they will not just automatically adjust. Keep in mind, this is only one instance, and I'm not sure if it would be the same with another dungeon that has multiple paths like Brackenhide. As a final note, I had 0 issues with the followers following my lead. Everything worked fine. I did allow the AI to lead the entire Ruby Life Pools dungeon, as it is a fairly linear dungeon. The AI performed well, and I didn't experience any pathing issues, although the AI did seem to pull every possible mob while leading. With the AI in control, there is also a noticeable delay between each pull. The AI will pull a mob, and once the mob is dead, if no other mob is aggroed, they will wait until everyone's HP is topped off before pulling the next. There were a few times I would pull big to see what they could do, and honestly, I was impressed at how the tank would pick up mobs and the healing would keep up with the reasonable damage. You will wipe if you pull too much, so it's not like you can just pull everything and AoE it down. Overall, the AI companions will interrupt abilities, control mobs, and handle mechanics correctly and competently. I noticed that some mechanics are only active for the player. For instance, the first boss in Ruby Life Pools, I always obtained the frost attack that pulls everyone inwards. A final note, I only obtained 1 piece of loot from 2 dungeon runs. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not, but it is kind of annoying that the loot gods will still screw you in a single player dungeon. Now let's dive a little deeper. The main reason I only did 2 of these follower dungeons is primarily due to time. I ran Brackenhide and Ruby Life Pools with the followers and then ran them again as a normal non-AI group, which I will now refer to as LFG. I also tried to stick to the same path with both groups to ensure that I could accurately compare the times. And I did all of these runs on my level 67 mage. With the AI, Brackenhide took about 45 minutes. Now that did include 1 wipe near the final boss because I was testing to see how much I could pull, but I also ran into a small time waste during the gauntlet, as the tank died and the druid would not battle res him. I think that moment added about an extra 3 minutes as I was trying to see if they would res the tank or if I had to just push. I ended up just pushing, and at some point the tank randomly popped back up. When I used the LFG tool, I spent about 12 minutes in the queue as a DPS, and it took about 9 minutes to clear the dungeon. So about 21 minutes total. Now let's talk about the Ruby Life Pools. The AI completely led the group, and it took about 29 minutes. Using the LFG tool, I spent about another 12 minutes in the DPS queue and about 8 minutes to clear the dungeon, so about 20 total minutes. As you can see, there is quite a large time difference between the 2. There are 2 main reasons for this. Number 1, the AI takes noticeable pauses between every single pull. And number 2, the AI's DPS is very low when compared to running with other real people. And just as a final note, the LFG dungeons I completed were with other characters under level 70, so neither group was carried. Which brings me to my next point, and one of the main reasons that I was personally interested in the follower dungeons. Is this a viable option for leveling a DPS character since you have instant queues? The short answer is absolutely not. The long answer is, even though the follower dungeons reward about 20% less experience than when using LFG, I was thinking that the instant queue times would result in a faster leveling experience for my DPS alts. However, this was not the case. Even with the wait time of the queue, I can practically run 2 dungeons using the LFG tool for every 1 follower dungeon. Not to mention, it doesn't seem like you are guaranteed any loot in a follower dungeon, so there's even less incentive. In conclusion, this is not a viable strategy to level your alt characters. Stick to waiting in the queues, which is what I'll be doing. So if it's time consuming and not useful for leveling, who and what is this useful for? The who. Very casual players, solo players, new players, or someone that has never done a dungeon before. The what. This will introduce you to the dungeon aspect of the game, and the AI does well in taking it slow and steady so that everything can be absorbed. Since the DPS is low, you will see all the mechanics that each boss offers, and you will have to perform them multiple times. The follower dungeons offer a great learning experience and are perfect for those types of players. Just for some clarity, I am not against this at all. I actually think this is a great tool and a great mode for new players. So let me give you an overall opinion here, and then I'll jump into my speculation and hopes of this tool. Overall, it is a major win for Blizzard. While the follower dungeons don't really offer anything to experienced players, that's perfectly fine. We aren't the target audience here. I could still see some people maybe using them to test out weak auras or other add-ons. However, this is tremendous for new players and gives them a very toxic-free environment to actually learn the game at their own pace. I am looking forward to the improvements they make to the AI, and I'm anxious to see where this is going. Now, let's talk about some speculation and personal hopes I have for this system. I would anticipate that this is going to come to raids. They are starting small with 5-man groups, and in the future will expand to larger groups. Maybe this is a far reach, but I actually see LFR being a mostly AI raid in the future expansions. LFR is already known to be the story mode raiding experience so that players of all skill levels can see the raid and the story. So why not just make it have the option of being completely soloable? I also foresee in next expansions another type of game mode that is solo player focused with increasing difficulty. Even though I didn't play during this time, I am thinking about something like the Mage Tower or Torghast, but with small groups of AI characters accompanying you. Now, what would I really like to see this system do? I would like to see it expanded to every single dungeon, specifically to those dungeons that are in the current Mythic Plus rotation. Now, before someone blurts out, "Oh yeah, let's just push keys with the AI and get carried." No, I'm talking about the dungeon being scaled to max level and mimicking the Mythic Plus dungeon. Think a Mythic 0, but with whatever the normal dungeon loot is at the time of the current expansion. So you still have the Mythic Plus mechanics, however there is no timer. It would give players a great place to practice their route and to learn the dungeon without any stress. Speaking from personal experience here, the new season is always a pain for me. Not only do I have to learn a completely new raid, but since I haven't played every expansion, I also have to learn most of the new Mythic Plus dungeons. While I'll still queue up, a majority of new Mythic Plus players don't queue up due to the anxiety of having a timed key. Everyone knows how toxic the Mythic Plus community is, and that keeps a lot of players that want to do Mythic Plus out on the sidelines. So giving them a stress-free environment to practice would actually add new players into the Mythic Plus pool. So that's my thoughts and experiences on the new Followers dungeon. Let me know down in the comments what you agree or disagree with. Shout out to these channel members. If you like WoW content, consider checking out my channel. I do guides, tips and tricks, and more. Support this video by hitting the thumbs up button. Extra support can be given by becoming a channel member. You get early ad-free access to every video for 99 cents a month. I also live stream here on YouTube and Twitch. All the links are down below. I'll see you in the next one.